Coming up today on the Nick Craig Show, a partisan fight on the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners over parks and green spaces. We'll have all the details coming up. And a good Tuesday morning to you. Welcome into the Nick Craig Show, streaming live today on YouTube, Rumble, X, and Facebook. Don't forget that you can take the show with you 24/7 on demand by checking out the Nick Craig Show in your favorite podcast app. You can also listen online by visiting the website nickcraig.com. Our show this morning is brought to you by Melissa Gott and her team over at the Law Group. Visit them online, lawgroupnc.com, or give them a call, 910-251-6088. We'll hear more from them coming up a little bit later on in the program this morning. So I want to start off and discuss an interesting meeting and an interesting discussion that's been playing out here in New Hanover County and the city of Wilmington over the last couple of years. And this is the concern over overdevelopment, right? You've seen this if you're somebody that is actively involved in local elections and local politics. You are very well aware of the public opinion, the public sentiment on the growth and the development here in New Hanover County. And I've talked a little bit about this in the past. It's come up in discussion, and I will continue to make the point that it is always better to be on the side of growth than on the side of decay. That does not mean that growth does not come with challenges. That does not mean that all growth is perfect and everything is hunky-dory, unicorns and rainbows and birthday cakes and balloons. That's not what that means at all. But if you're determining and weighing out what is a better situation to be in, you should always want to be on the side of growth and development. And that is where we are here in New Hanover County and in largely across southeastern North Carolina as a whole, right? And you don't have to go that far to see areas that are on the opposite side of that. Don't believe me? Trust me. Verify it yourself. Jump in your car, take about 2 hours round trip, 2.5 hours round trip, start driving west on 7476, and you will drive through towns and counties as you head west toward Charlotte that are on the side of decay, where there is no growth. There is no innovation. There is, unfortunately for these areas, nobody that is wanting to move to those areas. These are places that are on the side of decay, and that is unfortunate. Many of these towns, very popular in the days of the textile mills and the major tobacco rushes here in North Carolina, those areas are now on the side of decay. You don't have vast swaths of individuals that want to move to those areas. You've got a lot of poverty-stricken areas. You've got a lot of dilapidated buildings. I mean, you drive out this area, you see stretches of just broken apart buildings right off 74, 76, right on the side of the road, just falling apart. Have been in disrepair for decades and will likely remain that way because there's just no growth. There's no development. And so just to kind of lay out this discussion and conversation, I would assume you'd always want to be on the side of growth and development. Does that come with challenges? Yes, it does. How do you manage that growth in a responsible way? That is a fair discussion, a fair debate, and has taken up a lot of the air in the room in local elections, in city council elections, and in county commission elections. There's been a lot of this discussion over growth, over development. And so with it being such a big issue, you have seen a push by both sides of the political aisle to preserve as much what is called green space as possible. And that is something that is going to remain a major topic of discussion. So there has been some talks now for the last little bit of time over the city or the county or some conglomeration of both purchasing a plot of land here in the city of Wilmington, here in New Hanover County off of Greenville Loop Road to build a park. It will have some sort of, you would presume some sort of small playground area, walking trails, a park. We have many of these, Smiths Creek, many of these parks in our community already. And presumably, you would assume that this would be a bipartisan issue because this is something that cuts pretty evenly across party lines. You've got a large group of individuals that are frustrated with the overgrowth and the overdevelopment. They're frustrated with apartment complexes and condos popping up seemingly on every square inch of land that is available in New Hanover County. I don't necessarily hold those beliefs and hold those values myself. I believe that growth is good. Are there issues with it? Sure, to some extent, but at the end of the day, the free market decides. And if individuals are willing to move here and pay $2,100 to rent a one-bedroom apartment, and that's what the market is asking for, then I'm not going to point the finger and blame developers for wanting to build apartment complexes that are sold out before a shovel even breaks ground, right? Because that's what you're seeing happening across our community. But nevertheless, we'll set my personal opinions and personal feedback aside on this. Back a couple of weeks ago, you had the Wilmington City Council, which at this point in time, I will remind you, is a 7-0 Democrat board. There is no conservatives, no Republicans on that council. Now, there might be individuals that have a conservative ideal or two on the council, but overall, it is a council that is 100% ruled by Democrats, and in some cases, ruled by progressive Democrats. And so back a couple of weeks ago, they voted unanimously 7-0, which is going to be interesting to watch how they vote, because you've got different, even on the Democrat side on city council, you've got a little bit of a spectrum of how progressive each individual is. But nevertheless, they voted unanimously to approve the purchase of a large swath of land off of Greenville Loop Road, some 25 acres, at a pretty expensive price tag, in and around the ballpark of about $10 million. A lot of money, no question about it. We'll talk about the funding coming up here in a second. But $10 million, 25 acres of land off of Greenville Loop Road, with the pure intention and pure purpose of turning this into another green space, another park, something that has become a very contentious political issue. The city, as part of this, asked the county to chip in some funds for that. Now, the city will be the ones responsible for managing and maintenance and the ones building the park, but the city asking their friends over at the county for some financial involvement. And so that came up for discussion and debate at the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners meeting yesterday morning, and the conversation did not go as I anticipated it would at all. And I'm going to play for you the discussion in its entirety. We'll start off with the county manager and Chris Coudray laying out the process, laying out what has happened, what is going on here, and what the county's involvement should be. Here, this is from yesterday's county commission meeting. Take a listen.
Present to you a recommendation that the county do or does participate in a green space match with the city of Wilmington. Some number of months ago, the board signaled its interest, and so since that time we have been working a bit with the city, more specifically than the endowment, but with the city to understand its project. And so this morning I am here to recommend that the county, using the tree fund that New Hanover County has, and we have that fund because of the good work our budget and finance team do, we have the capacity to recommend to you to allocate $1 million from that fund as cost and contribution to the acquisition of approximately 25 acres off Greenville Loop Road that is intended to be developed by the city, not the county, but by the city, as an active park over the next 5 years. There is a purchase agreement that the city has with an LLC. That purchase agreement is for $9.75 million, as I understand. There is an endowment grant of $9.75 million. I'm sorry, sir.
7.7.
I'm sorry, thank you. Yes, that is a big restating, 7.75 million. And so happy to recommend that the county participate in that match. It's a dollar in and a dollar out. The county has no ongoing operational responsibility. It has no building responsibility for the park, but it does get to be memorialized as a contributor to the acquisition and ultimately the development of that park. And so glad to answer any questions, but but we are recommending that the county provide that $1 million match as specified by the endowment grant.
So before we get into some of the back and forth from the Board of Commissioners, which I'll remind you is a 3-2 Republican to Democrat majority, you've got Republicans, including the chairwoman, Leanne Pierce, Dane Scalise, and Bill Rivenbark. Those are the 3 Republicans. And you've got 2 Democrats. It's a 5-member board. Stephanie Walker and Rob Zappel are the 2 Democrats on the commission there. And so as you heard it laid out there from the county manager, the endowment, which, by the way, I've been highly skeptical of. We've seen a lot of their grant making, a lot of their funding over the last, I guess it's been almost 3 years now that the endowment has been writing grants. And I have continued to make the argument and have continued to make the point that the endowment has not necessarily lived up to its stated goal. You have seen very specific grants written to very specific organizations, and that was not the purpose of the endowment. And I've continued to make this point, and I've gotten some heat for it in the past, but I have no problem saying it at all. The endowment should not be in the business of helping specific groups of individuals. That's just not what the endowment, in my estimation, should be doing. The whole purpose of selling New Hanover, the former New Hanover County Hospital, to Novant and pulling in billions of dollars for that sale was the premise of that the money from the endowment, which is the one responsible for that, holding on to that sale money, would be to help the entire community. Not just spend a bunch of money on affordable housing, not just spend a bunch of money on the homeless community, but the community as a whole. What about the middle class, everyday taxpayer in New Hanover County? And we unfortunately have not seen a lot of the money from the endowment going towards that. It's been these hyper-focused areas, which I'm not saying I have a problem with in terms of providing some level of funding. But I'm a taxpayer here as well, right? And I'm not homeless. I don't need affordable housing. I have a house. I make my mortgage payment every single month. And so when you look at these large sums of money that are going out of the endowment every year for these very specific groups, I inherently have an issue with that because that's not providing anything to me. And it's not like I'm sitting here begging. I don't have my hands out. The whole premise, however, I'll note, of the endowment was to help the entire community, right? We talk about like the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge. There's been discussion about the endowment putting in a significant amount of money for that. That, in fact, would help the entire community. And so when we talk about this 25 acres of land, this 25 acres of plot off of Greenville Loop Road, this is more of what I was hoping originally the endowment would be involved in. Everybody across the county, regardless of income status, has the ability to take advantage of a park, has the ability to take advantage of the services that will be offered in this new 25-acre green space / park area that is being built. This is more of what the endowment needs to be in the business of, not providing money to nonprofits for substance abuse. I'm sorry if that makes me a heartless, spineless bastard, then so be it. That's the premise of this whole entity. It's to help the entire community. So the endowment is kicking in $7.75 million. The city is kicking in $1 million, and the county is kicking in $1 million. All of that combined, it brings you just shy of $10 million, $9.75 million for this, with the endowment, as you now understand, picking up the largest piece of this funding and investing the most amount of money compared to both of the other organizations. Again, which I'll note, the city will be responsible for the development and the maintenance and operating of the parks. The city already has a pretty well-funded parks department, City and Parks and Rec, so no issue there. So you just heard it laid out from County Manager Chris Coudray. Again, this was a unanimous 7-0 vote on the Democrat majority Wilmington City Council. Let's see what happened during the county commission meeting yesterday.
Commissioners, will you have discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you very much. I am very much in favor of us moving forward with this proposition, and I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. We have said over the last couple of years that it is important for us to develop green space in this community, and that not every parcel of this community needs to be turned into houses or apartments. And here's an example of us achieving that, should we move forward. I particularly like that we have been asked to come in as partners, but we are not on the hook in perpetuity. The city is going to be paying for this park. They're going to pay to build it. They're going to pay to maintain it. And the endowment is going to provide most of the money to pay for the acquisition of the land. I also think that this is a very good opportunity for us to showcase that we do desire to find opportunities for partnership with the City of Wilmington. Sometimes we have disagreements over what our policies should be, but here is an area where we have agreement. 7-0 vote at the City Council. 7 of the City Council members all voted in favor of moving forward with this project and said that this is a very good project, and then a hope that we would partner with them. Councilman Spears in particular, I thought, made some very good comments during that discussion where he said, you know, we can't always agree, but I think we should agree on this one, and I hope that the county will partner with us on it. So I am absolutely in favor of partnering with the city on this item. I'm grateful to the endowment and the city on working these deal terms out, and ultimately I think that we should feel confident because the city has achieved an appraisal that was higher than the purchase price. We also, through our due diligence, went out and sought an appraisal that was slightly below the purchase price. So we have some confidence that the number that they arrived at is in fact the correct number for the purchase of this property. 2 different appraisals by 2 different appraisers in this community gives me confidence that the purchase price that has been negotiated is the correct one.
And so some really good points made there by County Commissioner Dane Scalise. First, he highlights, and it is the reality of government, especially between the county and the city, they definitely do not always see eye to eye. There is a lot of back and forth between the county and the city. You've seen that kind of escalate in recent years, and to be blunt with you, I don't think it's going to be surprising to see that relationship might continue to unfortunately erode because of the 7-0 Democrat City Council now and the 3-2 Republican majority that is on the county commission. The city is already floating the idea of a major property tax increase. These Democrats have been on the commission now less than 3 months, and they're already floating some major increases for residents that have the pleasure of living within the city of Wilmington. So there's not a whole hell of a lot that they will and probably will likely continue to get together on. However, this is one that, again, everybody talks about it. Everybody is always constantly screaming at the sky about green spaces and got to stop the development, no more apartments, no more condos, we need parks, we need more green spaces. Well, here it is, 25 acres, Greenville Loop Road. This is a massive plot of land. And so with the unanimous vote on the city council, it is pretty surprising some of the next comments you're going to hear. I believe we'll hear from County Commissioner Rob Zappel right after this.
Commissioner Zappel?
Yeah, thank you. Chris, I had asked last week about a wetlands mapping that's a part of the endowment's requirement to the city for this, and also the Phase 1 environmental. Do we have any, do we have those?
I do not. I have no reason to believe they have not been provided, however, to the endowment, but I do not have copies of those.
I see that would go somewhat to the value of the property, the information that would be involved in that.
So the issue here is an environmental concern, as I'm understanding it from Commissioner Rob Zappel. The environmental impact on what? Purchasing a 25-acre plot of land off Greenville Loop Road and putting in some trails? Maybe a small playground area like you see in other areas, like Smith Creek is the greatest example of that. Small little playground and pavilion right when you pull into the park, a small little parking lot. The rest of it's just a trail around the lake or the creek or whatever the hell you want to call it over at Smith's Creek. So there's environmental concerns now, apparently. And Commissioner Zappel is arguing that he needs to personally see the wetlands study. The endowment, as I mentioned and has already been stated, is shelling out nearly $8 million for the purchase of this. The county and the city combined is $2 million. The endowment has a whole hell of a lot more invested in this financially than the county or city does. And so I would argue, and I would make the point, that if there was major environmental concerns with this piece of property, that the endowment who has a very wide swath of individuals on the board, I would argue that they have done their due diligence in making sure that they're not pissing away $8 million. It's a large sum of cash, ladies and gentlemen. We're not talking about a couple $100,000. We're talking about $8 million. I would presume also the city of Wilmington, who is going to be responsible for developing and designing and building and maintaining this facility, has done their due diligence as well. But for the small, I say small, but in the grand scheme of this, the 10% investment that is being made by New Hanover County, Rob Zappel needs to look at the environmental study and figure out whether there's this area floods. It's a park, Rob. It's green space. That's what everybody continues to talk about. You can't go on any local Facebook group or any local forum without everybody talking about more parks, more recreation, more green space, more trails, more this, more that. That's what we're talking about. And so, for whatever reason, that is the holdup on the county commission side, at least from Democrat member Rob Zappel.
I want to make a couple of comments about this because I know we've had a lot of discussion within our own commission about this, and I put a tremendous amount of thought into this deal. And I believe that my vote today will require some explanation.
The vote is going to require some explanation. I wonder why that might be. My vote that I'm about to make will require some explanation. I'll remind you, all 7 Democrats on the Wilmington City Council voted in favor of this. I think it's called, I believe you call that foreshadowing. And somebody has to say, my vote is going to need some explanation. So let's hear the explanation from Commissioner Zappel.
And to be clear, my vote is not against this park or any park. I've spoken repeatedly and frequently about the need to protect our tree canopy and green space and to increase and improve the parks and recreational facilities within our community. I applaud both the city and the endowment for bringing the motion forward, but in addition to our commitment to parks and green space, I believe that local governments have another obligation of equal or perhaps even greater importance: the obligation to conduct all of our business with complete transparency.
Yes.
I believe there are too many unanswered questions to move forward at this time. From the environmental standpoint, the wetlands delineation map and the Phase 1 environmental study, that has not been shared at this point. There are legitimate questions that have been raised about the sale price of the property. The agreed upon price is more than 4 times the value of our county's property tax appraisal that was conducted only a year ago. I understand that commercial property appraisals can differ from tax appraisals, but the whole variance and the wide variance in this case deserves further review, as does this question. Is it appropriate to appraise land destined to be a park at its full commercial value based on highest and best use?
So some of the argument and some of the debate here that you're hearing laid out by Commissioner Zappel is the appraisal over the land. And so I caught this article over at Port City Daily that talked about the appraised property. And so the way that this worked is that the city used J.C. Morgan for its appraisal, which came in at $10.06 million. That was the appraisal that the city paid for. This private appraiser, not associated with the city of Wilmington, hired service. You go out and contract. And so the county did their due diligence and hired a completely separate appraiser to go out and do that. They contracted through G. Brad White and Associates, and that appraisal was at $9.4 million. And so, yes, there's a difference there, about $600,000. Now, to Port City Daily's credit, they write in their article, Port City Daily reached out to a separate appraiser unaffiliated with the project to find out if a $600,000 or so gap falls within a reasonable range. That appraiser, the third party that Port City Daily reached out to, confirmed that that spread was not problematic. So you've got 2 different groups, one hired by the city, one hired by the county, both in the ballpark of about $10 million. A $600,000, which, I guess, is a large sum of money, but when you're talking about a $10 million property and appraisals, appraisals in some respect are, personal opinion. That's kind of the purpose of hiring an appraiser. Looks at this and they find about a $600,000 gap. So you've got 2 different parties, both coming in pretty close to the mark, and then a third party saying, yeah, this range is not all that crazy. $600,000 is a pretty reasonable gap when you're looking at almost a $10 million property, depending on what appraisal you want to use. But Commissioner Zappel is claiming that that is not transparent and not being done appropriately.
19.12 acres, or 76% of the 25 plus total acres of the property, was a gift to the LLC that now wants to resell it. I've asked that the current owners of the land partners in an LLC that now holds the title be identified. In another case where the city and the county jointly acquired land for a park, that's the Flossie Bryant tract, that was the case. From the beginning of the Flossie Bryant conversations, we knew who we were negotiating with, and the process was conducted in the open. To ask this question of ownership is not to infer anything unethical or illegal. And if this were a deal between two commercial real estate brokers or developers, there might be no reason to ask the question. But there is almost $10 million of public money involved in this transaction. And I believe transparency, full disclosure, is not only advisable, it is absolutely necessary.
So the issue is that the owners of the property, it is owned by an LLC, which, by the way, is a very common practice for LLCs, limited liability corporations, to hold property. It's an incredibly common thing. Rob Zappel does not know who is the, trustees behind the LLC, who is actually the one owning the land, out like the individuals. And so that is his holdup. Now, he claims that he's not inferring that there's anything nefarious going on there, claiming that he's not insinuating that somebody is not getting rich off the public dollar, but says that the only way they could move forward if they knew the individuals that were selling this land, largely to the endowment, who is providing $8 million for the payment, but will essentially go to the city of Wilmington. Interesting argument.
We are told by the sellers that they have another offer on the table that expires on February 28th. And if the county does not act by then, the opportunity to create the park will be lost. And that may be. And it is possible the owners could maximize their profits by selling to someone else who will develop the land.
Probably true.
That is a decision for the owners to make. But I don't believe a deadline on the seller overrides the county's fiduciary responsibility to guarantee that $9,750,000 of the public's money, that's the city's contribution of $1 million, the county's requested contribution of $1 million, and the endowment's $7.75 million grant, all of which is public money, is being wisely spent. And as much as I would like to see land become a park, I'm not comfortable moving forward until all of the relevant questions surrounding the sale have been asked and answered. And as of today, I don't believe they have. And one final thought. I have concerns about the precedent this sets in the relationship between the city, the county, and the endowment. The city has specific responsibilities to taxpayers. The county also has legal obligations. The endowment has no such legal responsibilities or obligations and is free to purchase the land for the park at whatever cost. Why is the endowment trying to influence how the city or county spends taxpayer money? And what kind of precedent does that set for the future of New Hanover County? Thank you, Madam Chair, for your patience. I know that was lengthy.
Commissioner Lavender?
So you've got all this cheering and clapping in the room, presumably from Democrats, who will be the first ones on apps like Nextdoor.com and other places to be bitching and complaining about apartments and condos being built. Yet they are clapping in favor of Rob Zappel laying out that he is going to vote against the county spending $1 million in terms of helping pay for the purchase price of a 25-acre piece of land off of Greenville Loop Road. You talk about the amount of mental gymnastics that these individuals have to put themselves through to be clapping for the comments there from Commissioner Zappel. So not only is he concerned about the environmental impact, I don't even know what the hell he's talking about there. He's concerned about the environmental side of it. He's got concerns over the owners of the LLC, which I would argue is not really that relevant at all. I mean, you've got a piece of land that is privately owned. If it is available for sale and somebody is interested in buying it, whether it be a public entity who, the county and city owned a whole bunch of land throughout New Hanover County, or somebody else, and then this weird discussion at the end about how the endowment is forcing the hand of the city of Wilmington in New Hanover County. I don't necessarily know that I sign on or really understand what that argument is either, but nevertheless, that is the argument made there by Commissioner Zappel. We'll hear from more of the county commissioners coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Before that, I'd like to thank the Law Group here in Wilmington for their continued support of the program and remind you that when legal challenges arise, make sure you put your trust in the Law Group. Since 2003, the experienced attorneys over at the Law Group have provided high-quality, affordable legal services across the eastern half of our state. Whether you're facing a divorce, navigating a real estate transaction, pretty relevant this morning, or maybe you need a strong defense. If so, the Law Group has your back. Their dedicated team ensures your questions are answered and issues are resolved as quickly as possible. Great news, ladies and gentlemen. They're located in downtown Wilmington. They're not some big national law firm. Melissa Gott and her team live right here in our community, and they're just a phone call away at 910-251-6088, or you can visit them online at lawgroupnc.com. Give them a call, 910-251-6088, or online at lawgroupnc.com. The Law Group, experience and dedication you can rely on. We appreciate the Law Group and their continued financial support here of the Nick Craig Show. All right, we'll grab a quick break. On the other side, more from the County Commission meeting on Monday, yesterday, as Democrat County Commissioner Rob Zappel comes out against purchasing nearly 25 acres of land off of Greenville Loop Road for a green space and a park. Those details as the Nick Craig Show continues, streaming live at 7 o'clock weekday mornings, YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook, and available 24/7 wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome back to the Nick Craig Show. Thanks for spending part of your Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon if you're listening after the fact with us. Great comment coming in on our live chat here this morning as it relates to this vote within New Hanover County yesterday on the county commission to join in with the endowment and the city of Wilmington to help spend about $10 million in total, just under that, $9.75 million, to purchase 25 acres of land off of Greenville Loop Road. How many swaths of land like this even exist in New Hanover County? This is a rare opportunity that is fast disappearing. Once gone, it's gone forever. That is exactly the point. And that's why this argument and this debate is so interesting, because you've heard people like Rob Zappel in the past standing up on his ivory tower talking about this very issue, about overdevelopment, about the rate of growth, about the rate of construction within New Hanover County. And so here he is with an opportunity to protect 25 acres of land. That's a large portion of land in New Hanover County, which I'll note, before anything was built here, New Hanover County is the second smallest geographic landmass available in the state of North Carolina. We have 100 counties in the state. New Hanover County is the 98th smallest county based on landmass. So, I mean, right from the go, you've got an area that is incredibly small, incredibly limited. To the credit of previous county commissions and city councils, they've done a good job in providing some of this opportunity. There are plenty of parks in our community. One just opened back, was it last year, down as you head towards Carolina Beach? Or was it called? I think it's called Freedom Park or something like that. I mean, that's open now. And so you've got these decisions that have been made, and here's another opportunity, yet there's opposition against it from, I would argue, the crowd that is levying and arguing the most about the lack of available green space, the lack of parks in New Hanover County. It's a very odd situation. We'll hear now from Bill Rivenbark, who is a member of the one of the Republican members of the Board of Commissioners, his comments on this discussion yesterday.
I'd like to make a motion to accept.
Commissioner Walker would like to, you can go ahead and make the motion if you want to do that.
Go ahead.
It's okay. I'll be quick. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to echo all the sentiments that Commissioner Zappel has pointed out. And I want to be clear that I strongly support green space acquisition and conservation. Over the past year, I've supported both the 60-plus acre green space purchase and the Western Bank conservation acquisition because preserving land is one of the most important things and long-term investments we can make for our coastal community. For this project, though, constituents and local reporting have raised questions about the timeline and process that I don't yet have clear answers to. And absolutely, while I support the intent, I do not feel that I have enough information to support it today. Thank you.
So notice the clarifying statements from both Stephanie Walker and Rob Zappel. I support green spaces. I support parks. But I will not be voting in favor of providing this green space. I will not vote in support or in favor of this park. Guys, you can't have it both ways. You can't tell the public and sit up on your pedestal on the New Hanover County Commission, your dais, sit up on the dais and profess your support for green spaces, profess your support for parks, and then actively vote against it. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. You look like clowns. You pick a lane. I support parks. Okay, then vote in favor of this. There's still too many unanswered questions. Like what? Who owns the property? That's it? There's this argument that Zappel brought up over the value. Two different appraisers were hired, one by the city, one by the county. They appraised the price of the land. Are you now arguing that the appraisers are incompetent at their job? Does Rob Zappel need to get out there in a hard hat and determine what the appraised value should be? I don't know that he's got that expertise. That's why you hire people, right? If you're looking at purchasing a house, what is one of the things you do right off the bat? You hire a home inspector, as most people should and do. You hire somebody to go through the property, look at a whole variety of different factors. Oh, hey, there's not a lot of insulation in the attic. The hot water heater looks like it's beginning to rust out. There's issues with the eaves. I mean, this is what you hire experts to do. I'm not an expert in that. So when I purchased my house, I hired a home inspector. Great guy. very conservative, actually, in my case. Came over, looked at what was going on, provided a 70-page PDF, took a whole bunch of pictures, provided that information to me. So me as a buyer, I could be informed as to what was going on with the property. And so the county and the city have done the exact same thing, hired an appraiser to go through the property and determine what its value is. They both came in within $600,000 of each other. The buying price is somewhere right in the middle of there at $9.75 million. And you still got the argument that the pricing is not accurate. Based on what? Your inherent thought? Based on you think it's worth less, or you believe that a private landowner should give the county a major discount? I don't agree with that at all. I'm a capitalist all the way through. And so if the land is worth about $10 million, then that's what they should sell it to the county or city or the endowment for. Not 5, not 6, but what it's worth. If not, they should, in fact, go and sell it to a private developer so they can put up hundreds of condos and apartments. I don't understand the argument here. There's 2 independent parties that have looked at the price, yet the Democrats on the county commission are held up on that. Commissioner Leanne Pierce, the chairwoman of this commission, makes that exact point coming up right here.
So, so I'd have a couple of comments. So, I understand what both of you are saying. I understand our commitment to green space. But I feel like that we talked about this. The city came to us again asking for collaboration, asking for us to partner with them. This is their deal. This is their offer. They came to us for participation. Am I correct in that, Mr. Manager?
Yes, ma'am.
This is 100% their deal. They're asking us to partner with them. We want to be good partners with the city. You have found a way for this to come from our tree fund. We've talked about this several times. Some people did not, that we wanted to do our due diligence. And we asked for a second appraisal because of the differential between the appraised value and the value coming from the city. So our second appraisal came back almost within a small fraction of, without giving direct numbers or disclosing anything from our closed session, very close to the appraisal, which makes me very confident. When we ask for 2 licensed appraisers in our community, very well respected, to appraise this property, and they come back so close, that gives me reason to believe that is the right price. Our legal team has told us that everything is transparent on the LLCs, and everything that we've asked for has been provided. Our manager and our staff is recommending this purchase. For me, when the professionals say it's right for us to do, and the city asks us to partner, and we're saving 25 acres from development, that's something that I can get behind. I do feel like it's been done transparently. I do believe that it's a good thing for the citizens of New Hanover County to have a 25-acre park that does not get developed. It's up to the city from here out to develop that park over the next 5 years. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved to approve.
Commissioner Walker, did you want to say something? I'm sorry, I thought I saw you raise your hand.
Oh, no, I was waiting. I thought Bill was going to make the
Second?
motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Nay.
So that is 3-2, Commissioner Zappel and Commissioner Walker in dissent.
So there it is. There's your vote. There's your final tally. 3-2 at the county commission to approve and really not approve the entire purchase, but provide $1 million to the city of Wilmington for the purchase price of this plot of land. Now, there's a great comment coming in on our Rumble live chat. They must have heard a conservative owns the land. Maybe that's the case. Yeah, maybe it's a conservative person, somebody that's a Republican that owns the land. It is interesting, though, that wasn't an issue for the city of Wilmington, of which there are 7 Democrats on the city council. Wasn't an issue for them, but it's just a bridge too far for Rob Zappel and Stephanie Walker. And the arguments I can't buy into at all. And, you know, this discussion of from Commissioner Zappel, who, by the way, I have a lot of respect for, and I think is a nice guy. But this discussion over we need to make sure we're doing everything we can and transparent with public money. I mean, give me a freaking break, Rob. I mean, seriously? Go look at the stupid art installations that the county has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on over the last couple of years. Go look at the globe that sits in front of the New Hanover County Government Center in the parking lot of the strip club and tell me that's a transparent and good use of county money, taxpayer dollars. This huge globe that you can't see from anywhere sitting in front of the county that they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars getting commissioned. I mean, you got to pick a lane on this stuff. If you want to be Mr. Fiscal Conservative on everything, I'm okay with that. I actually would like that. But you can't cut it both ways. You can't piss away $300,000 on some globe, some weird floating globe in front of the county government center, and then be mortified about spending $1 million, by the way, not from the general fund, but from money that had already been set aside for tree canopies and things like that, and not wanting to spend that to provide this. And so here are a couple of comments in the immediate aftermath of this. County Commissioner Dane Scalise took to Facebook and wrote, "What do you want to see here? Green space or apartments? Personally, I want to see green space, and it isn't even close. And that's exactly what I voted for today. Thank you to our partners at the City of Wilmington and the endowment for voting with the county in favor of a park and against apartments on this land. A terrific bipartisan win for our community." Those are the comments coming in from Commissioner Scalise. Former Wilmington City Council member Luke Waddell, who played a large part in this before his time on the City Council ended, posted this on his Facebook yesterday saying, quote, "This is a big win for our community. For the first time, we are seeing the New Hanover Community Endowment, New Hanover County, and the City of Wilmington come together in a meaningful way to invest in green space for the public. This is what it looks like when community leaders listen to their constituents and act to preserve green space. This kind of partnership is rare, and I commend all three organizations for their vision and leadership. This land could have easily been developed. Instead, it would become a park for our community, for our children, and for future generations. Protecting and investing in green spaces is one of the most important things we can do as a growing coastal community. Once the land is gone, it is gone. Decisions like this shape the quality of life for all of us in Wilmington and New Hanover County, as well as for generations to come. The endowment board and its staff deserve real credit for the strategic leadership in helping make this happen. This is exactly the kind of long-term investment that the endowment was created to support, and it is encouraging to see them lean into that role. I also want to recognize Mayor Bill Saffo. Whoops, looks like I lost my post there. I also want to recognize Mayor Bill Saffo and all members of the Wilmington City Council, along with New Hanover County Commission Chair Leanne Pierce, Vice Chair Dane Scalise, and Commissioner Bill Rivenbark for working together to move this forward. It is incredible what can be done when politics are put aside and we can work together. He ends by saying this: Commissioner Scalise in particular has been a consistent thought leader on green space preservation, including the vision many now refer to as Arley 2.0. There has been no bigger advocate for green space in our community than Dane, and no one more efficient at turning those ideas into action. Grateful to see this moving forward. I hope this is just the beginning of a sustained commitment to parks and green spaces across New Hanover County. Man. Very well said there by former Wilmington City Councilman Luke Waddell. And it's exactly what needs to be said. And I really love, he highlights at one point in here, the kind of, this is a direct quote from Luke, the kind of long-term investment that the endowment was created to support. That's the key. And that has always been, at least up to this point. And I know the endowment's new. There's been a lot of leadership changes over there. I'm willing to give it a chance. That has always been one of my key frustrations with the endowment, is the lack of these long-term investments, right? It's a couple $100,000 here, a couple $100,000 there for essentially one-time use, one-time programs. I would argue that's not a smart investment. This is the kind of investment that should be discussed and talked about. Whether you're somebody that wants this green space or not, this is the kind of lasting, long-term use of monies that, to me, makes a whole hell of a lot of sense versus giving it to some local nonprofit so they can go out and buy a Sprinter van to haul people back and forth between the city of Wilmington and somewhere else, right? To me, that's not a strong long-term investment that provides and helps the entire community, which again is what the whole premise of the New Hanover Community Endowment was created to do. This is a great step in the right direction. I have no freaking idea what Stephanie Walker and Rob Zappel are on about. The Democrats on the Wilmington City Council, who I will argue are way more progressive than Rob and Stephanie, seemingly did not have a problem with this at all. And I, for the life of me, cannot figure out what their real issue is and what their real gripe is. They argued about who owns the LLC. They're arguing about, who is the individuals behind it, the managing partners on its state paperwork, so on and so forth. I don't know what possibly could be buried under there that would make this the kind of smoking gun that it seemingly is being indicated towards. I have no idea why that would be, and I also will note that the local media attention of this is very interesting than it would be if the shoe was on the other foot. You can look at some local headlines, and you don't see anywhere in there that Democrats are the ones voting against that. You don't see in any of the headlines that 2 Democrats on the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners voted against a green space. I can guarantee you, had this vote been the other way around, had 3 Republicans voted against this, you would see headlines in all of our local media outlets about how Republicans hate the environment, hate parks, hate children, hate the future generations, and want to see the entirety of New Hanover County be storage units, gas stations, vape shops, and apartment complexes. That would be the story that local media would be running. But because they are in the pocket of the Democrats who voted against this, Rob Zappel and Stephanie Walker, those are not the headlines. The headlines are things like Greenville Loop Park hits transparency snag at county but passes in a split vote. And Wilmington Parks deal goes ahead after divided New Hanover County vote on $1 million contribution. A little bit different framing of the headlines. I would suspect, and I feel pretty confident in saying that to you, I suspect those headlines would be a whole hell of a lot different if the vote was 3 Republicans against and 2 Republicans for. I just suspect that. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't exactly tell you that would be the case, but I have a pretty strong inkling that would be the case. Looking at some of the other comments coming in here, the 2 commissioners who opposed it got to voice their opinion knowing they would lose the vote. Very good point. And that's part of being in the opposition. If there is a Democrat commission majority come fall, the conservative-leaning board will be replaced by the new commissioners and by lefties. They'll trash the endowment. Well, and that's really going to be the importance of re-electing County Commission Chairwoman Leanne Pierce come later this year, making sure that she is able to stay on that board and continue to provide the 3-2 Republican majority. I mean, the way that this plays out is Leanne's seat and Rob's seat are up. 1 Republican, 1 Democrat. And so if Republicans can hold on, or if Leanne can hold on to her seat, which is going to require Republicans to get out in full force and support and back her, if we can get out in full force and support her, we're good to go. We continue to hold that majority. If Democrats pick off that seat, the county commission will flip from 3-2 Republican to 3-2 Democrat, meaning that the city council and the New Hanover County Commission will be run by Democrats. And we know exactly what that will mean. Your cost of everyday life will skyrocket. Your property taxes will go up year after year after year after year. They will continue to spend like drunken sailors, and they will make our community less prosperous. That is exactly what we'd be looking down the barrel at if things do not go well later this year. And it's why it's going to be so important to not only get Leanne reelected, but also back and support Richard Collier, who just recently ran as a Republican for the Wilmington City Council. He is running for New Hanover County Commission as well. There's no primary. There's only 2 candidates, so you won't see their name if you're going out to vote during the primary. But those will be the 2 Republicans battling up against who we don't know yet will be the Democrat counterparts in the general election coming up later this year. So there's a lot on the line with that. All of this kind of fits in nicely and neat with everything. But it is interesting to see the debate and the argument, and we'll see exactly what goes on here in the coming weeks and months. As another comment coming in, it took less than 3 months for City Council to propose a tax increase. Absolutely, as anticipated, as we talked about on this show ahead of the municipal elections late last year. And I can guarantee you will see the exact same thing in New Hanover County. Absolutely guarantee you that will be the case. So we'll keep an eye on this. It's passed now, so it's going to happen, and we'll see over the next, I guess it's 5 years, that the city of Wilmington has to get this park dealt with. Bravo to the endowment, to the New Hanover County Commission, the 3 Republican members there, and to the credit of the city of Wilmington for letting this thing go forward and actually practicing what they preach. A lot of gaslighting, a lot of rhetoric around green space and this and that and the other. It's a different thing to actually vote in favor of it. We actually saw that take place yesterday morning, I should say, during the New Hanover County Commission meeting. We'll keep an eye on it right here on the Nick Craig Show. Well, that's going to do it for a Tuesday edition. Thanks to the Law Group here in Wilmington for their continued support. You can visit them online, lawgroupnc.com, or give them a call, 910-251-6088. The Nick Craig Show streams live weekday mornings, 7 a.m., YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook. It's also available 24/7 in your favorite podcast app. We'll do it again tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, right here on The Nick Craig Show.